lights. It's dark outside. I decided to come on. Welcome to HBRV Lifestyle, the podcast. This is a honey badger here live to give it to you straight and transparent about the RV business as well as other things. The reason why I'm doing this live real quick, and it won't be quick, but it'll be quicker than normal live streams, is because I just finished a phone call that was very promising. Good evening, Skylar. I finished a very good phone call earlier this evening, about 7 minutes ago while I was charging the car. And basically, dealerships, not every dealership, not all RV dealerships, but I'm going to say a very vast majority of RV dealerships across the United States had a record January. Not in profit, but in sales. And it was a mixed bag of stuff. It was a mixed bag of new and used. So we'll know the final used numbers probably around March, maybe early April. Maybe we'll get lucky and get the numbers here at the end of February. But it was a record January for a lot of RV dealerships across the United States. That means that a lot of these guys felt like the amount of sales in January were greater than the amount during COVID, during a January in COVID, during January during COVID, however you want to say that. So the reality is people are in the mood to spend money, which again reaffirms what I've been saying about price increases, about profit increases. So this is a very good thing for used as well. Hello, Andrew's videos. Pro David. This is a very good thing for the used market too, because the used RV market means it isn't going to increase in value. That's what people don't understand. A used motorhome, a used travel trailer is not going to gain value. The difference figure is actually just going to stay the same. It's not like COVID-19. It's not like the COVID surge. So let me explain. So the factory's increasing prices 3.5%. Dealerships will probably raise their profit margins on average 5 to 8%, depending on where they're at price-wise right now. That does not increase the value of your used motorhome, your used travel trailer. It does not increase the value. What happened during COVID, where the price of new and the price of used were through the roof, was because of a supply and demand problem. The price increase is not because of supply and demand. That's where people misunderstand. The difference figure between new and used is going to keep separating. Okay? Now, it's not going to devalue your used piece, but your used piece is going to stay the same value today as it will when the price increases take effect. It's not going to increase what your used RV is worth. It's not going to decrease it either. Okay? So, what does that mean? It means, okay, that the price increases are due to profitability, not because of supply and demand. Okay? Here's a great example. Rockwood and Flagstaff, to keep production going, was giving away an auto level system to where you were getting a Rockwood or Flagstaff travel trailer with auto level for the same price as no auto level. But once that one batch was built to keep the factory going, now they're being charged for it. So if you didn't, here's an example. If you did not buy a Rockwood or Flagstaff travel trailer right now that has auto level system and the dealership's out of the batches that were built over the last 3 months, you're going to pay $5 to $7 grand more just for that trailer. So all of these factors come into play that nobody talks about because everybody's focused in on supply and demand, when supply and demand equals this amount of why prices go up or down. Supply and demand have nothing to do with interest rates, have nothing to do with profitability. Supply and demand is when there's actually a problem with the supply chain, or the demand has superseded or underseeded the production. That's the reason why the profitability of dealerships was nil and void for the last 2 years. That's why manufacturers like Winnebago have lost money 2 years straight. That's why Camping World has lost money for 2.5 years. They're not going to lose money anymore. The inventory has balanced. Now, if there's dealerships out there that have not balanced their inventory, they're idiots, okay? Let's face it. If they're overstuffed with inventory with as many people that are buying right now, they're morons. They're not doing something right. When the dealership I'm working for is now begging for inventory, when I have a dealership that's 75 miles from the store I'm working at is begging for inventory, when I've got dealers in certain parts of the West Coast, not going to mention where because that's not fair to them, that are telling me over the phone that they are practically telling the factory, build me more units. It's telling you that the supply and demand balance is reconfiguring to where it needs to be. It's not too much, it's not too little. Okay? So the reality is, okay, that we are in a situation where folks that are, oh, dealerships are overstuffed, you're an idiot, Honey Badger's an idiot, Josh the RV nerd even says the economy's gonna crash. I'm sick of hearing that. I have heard that now 9 times just today. I have watched it. Josh, if you're watching or you're watching later, I'm sorry that people are sometimes just stupid and don't pay attention. It's just, a lot of people, what they do is they don't watch the full segment of a video. So I did a 15-minute video, update video on my main channel about the price increases, okay? Nowhere in there did I say the tariffs are permanent or that the tariffs were gonna necessarily be the only reason why price increases happen. I explained it in full, as detailed as I can, without like going 30 minutes and boring people. And then something Josh said, which is a 2-minute clip of his update video, got blown out of proportion. No, and I could tell the people watched the 2 minutes segment of Josh's last update video. And if they paid attention and watched the full segment, Josh breaks it down and chapters out the segment. And it's like, okay, Josh said in 2 minutes that this was happening, yet there's 7 more minutes of the segment. Josh, nowhere near in any of this is up. I'm sorry, this bugs me, but nowhere, anywhere in Josh the RV Nerd's update videos over the last 2 years since Bish's bought his family's dealership, nowhere in those update videos did he ever say prices were going to crash and that prices were going to constantly go down. Never said it. He's never even mentioned it. He has talked about pricing from the manufacturers going down. He's talked about over the last couple of years, if you watch his full videos, he's talked about that some manufacturers have given price incentives to order during dealer days, aka Rockwood and Flagstaff by Forest River were giving away a free auto level system for anything that was ordered during dealer days. It's no longer free. Believe me, we sold out of them. Now we're getting a price increase of almost $7,000 if you want the auto level system. So that right there was an incentive to the buyer and the dealer to keep production going. Those are what Josh talks about. People need to stop taking a 2-minute clip of what Josh the RV nerd says and taking it as the, excuse my language, I'm going to cuss, so if there's kids around, I'm sorry. But I'm tired of them taking a little segment what he says and making it the fucking Bible. He's not what he once was, okay? Because again, we've talked about that. You know, when you get a part of a corporation, the 47 corporate RV YouTubers have handcuffs around them of a lot of things they can and can't say, okay? Once you get into that world and that realm, there's just too much at stake that if you say the wrong thing the wrong way, it can cause a ripple effect, especially with a guy with his following, okay? But nowhere, anywhere in his videos has he ever even accused the market of crashing, okay? He's very precise in what he says, so stop taking what he says. It's like all this shit that they do on CNN and Fox News. Let's clip 2 minutes of a 40-minute conversation and make that the Bible. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Okay? The market is not going to crash. The RV market is on recovery mode, which this is the first time, at least what I've been told, this is the first time that the RV market is recovering before the auto market does. Okay? It's very like, yeah, it's like there's so, everything that we're going through, see, it would take me 2 hours to explain why the RV market is in recovery and not going to crash. Okay, it's not going to be. Now, here's what I am going to say. I've told the owners of dealerships that I've talked to over the last 5 days, don't take January and February as it's going to be like the best year ever. Take it in stride, because, you know, I think a lot of folks, a lot of RV buyers, because I've been getting lots of emails. The email intake I've been getting has gone up 20-fold in the last 90 days. I can't keep up with the emails I'm getting. I can't keep up with the DMs I'm getting, the direct messages. I'm overwhelmed. And so I try my best to get back to everybody. I'm going to pretty much have to have somebody go through my emails for me soon. Okay? I don't know how I'm going to do that because I don't have any money, but soon I'm going to have somebody help me with this. But the majority of it is very positive. Okay? The other day, someone claimed, now I don't know if it's true because I don't talk to Matt. Matt, I know Matt follows the podcast. I've been told that Josh does. I've been told that a lot of people do, okay? I know Matt does. There's an email that I got that someone bought directly from Matt at Tampa Bay. And they're also subscribers to this podcast and have been subscribers to my main channel for 3 years. And the email they sent me was beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful. Basically condensing down that between what my videos about RV financing, between the podcast, between everything, they decided to get away from a Grand Design fifth wheel and they went to a motorhome. And one of the beautiful things they said was because that Matt and his team do a great job with their motorhome videos. And apparently they bought their motorhome from Matt at Tampa Bay. And to hear that tells me that the buyers, the people that are really true buyers of RVs are seeing this. Whether they listen to my podcast, whether they see the market trend, whether they're kind of eyeing some things, especially with what our president of the United States here in America is doing, it's crazy. Oh, look at that. He's watching the live. Somebody told me to ask for him. The reality is that I think a lot of the buyers are buying early because I think they noticed that this trend can't continue. Okay. One of the common things that I see in my email is people have sped up their buying decisions. And that's why I told a lot of the owners I talked to over the phone is like, I don't think we're going to have a nuclear year where everything's going to the stars are going to align and we're all going to make a bunch of money. But I believe it's going to be a lot better than 2024. And I sure in hell know it's going to be better than 2023. But I think it'll flatline. I think what we're seeing is I think we're going to see more consistency in the amount of customers that start walking through the door, walking through shows. Even though, according to who I've talked to, a lot of the shows, including Calgary, including Boise, including Spokane, Washington, Houston, from what I'm understanding, the actual foot traffic through the door is way down. But the amount of people buying and the, how do I put it, the quality of the customer is significantly better than it was over the last 2 years. There isn't as many people buried in a trade. There's people with money down, good credit, paying cash. From what I'm understanding, Tampa Bay had a record year. Now, we all know there's going to be adjustments. How many actually fall out in finance? How many actually don't get delivered? How many were ordered units that are going to arrive in the next 3 or 4 months? All that stuff is all going to adjust downward. But when you have a bunch of finance managers super excited about their paychecks and not sitting there going, oh, Jesus Christ, John, you have no idea how screwed up this is. They tell everybody we did 30 deals on a Saturday, but you know what, out of 30, we're going to get like 5 over the curb. And instead, it's like, hey, we got 22 deals today, and every one of them are going to deliver. The Northern California show in Pleasanton, La Mesa RV was excited because the quality of buyers, the traffic was significantly down. Part of that's weather. Part of that is just a lot of things going on in Northern California. But yet the quality of the traffic coming through the gate was way better than previous year. Okay, I'll give you an example. The dealership I've been helping out of every single deal, all 32 deals are solid, scheduled, and going over the curb. All 32. And now the residual's starting to come. So unlike in the last 2 years where it was like, and throw shit against the wall and see if it actually does something, we seem to be in recovery mode. Now, I do want to warn and stress something to you guys, okay? especially those that are going to watch this later. I really, really want to stress this to you. Interest rates are not going down anytime soon. Okay? So now you're going to have, we're talking about dealerships from big Walmart to little mom and pop having to increase their profit to stay in business. You're talking about manufacturers like Brinkley, like Heartland, like Cruiser, I can't name every single one of them, but everybody's raising their prices a little bit. That's before interest rates go down. I want everybody to think about that. So as you're sitting there and you're wondering, are you going to be an interest rate buyer or are you going to be a price buyer? If you're an interest rate buyer, when rates go down, and eventually they will, between Jerome Powell, okay, and between all the other things that make up what creates an actual mortgage rate, what creates a car rate, all the bonds, all the complicated economic stuff. I'm not going to spend 2 hours going over that. When rates go down, they're not going down to 4% unless we have an economic nuclear meltdown. Not going to happen. Okay? But if we get down to that 6% range, instead of being at 8 or 9, the dealerships and the manufacturers are going to adjust. So and I've said this for years now, I've been trying to explain this. As interest rates go down, dealership profits go up. Now we're at a point where dealerships have no choice but to increase their margin. Okay? We're there. The manufacturers, including independents like Genesis Supreme RV, have to increase their profit margin to stay in business. It's no longer about production. Okay? And you have to understand something. The new president of Forest River, the new CEO of Forest River, Doug Yetter, can't come out. And I'm going to pick on Doug, okay? I'm picking on Doug, all right? Doug is an example. If Doug can't come on and go, oh, by the way, we've been losing our ass for a couple of years now, trying to balance inventory at the same time, trying to keep production up to keep people's paychecks going, and quality's been all over the place because of different things. So we're going to raise our prices, shut down all of West Coast production, and it's because we got to stay in business. Okay, now I'm picking on Forest River just because I know I can, okay? I could pick on Keystone too. I mean, we could pick on Keystone about it. We could pick on Winnebago about it. All of them have been losing their rear end, okay? Name a manufacturer, they've been losing their rear end, okay? They're raising their prices without rates going down. What's going to happen when rates go down? You got to expect prices to slightly increase, profit margins to slightly increase. Okay? With that being said, if you're an interest rate buyer, you need to have that knowledge. Because if you're going to go, let's say, buy a $200,000 motorhome, and you find out in 2 or 3 years when rates go down that it went up to $215,000 or $216,000, whatever that number will be, it's not shocking to you. That's why I when I train salespeople, when I train people to be salespeople, I tell them they're one of 3 types of buyers, okay? You're either a price buyer, you're an interest rate buyer, or you're a trade buyer. Okay, and I'll get to the third one in just a second. But the price buyer, yes, you're going to bitch and gripe about the interest rates. But at the end, you're looking for the price. You're probably one of those folks that pays off their loans in a couple of years. Yeah, you might take a 15-year loan, but you pay it off in 3 or 4. Okay? So you don't really, the interest rate bothers you, but at the end of the day, you're buying it because of the price of the unit. Then there's the folks They're interest rate buyers. That's all you're focused in on is, I'm not going to pay over 5% interest on a toy, as an example. Doesn't matter what the price is. You could see prices slowly increase, but as long as the interest rate and the payment line up to where you want to be, you're good. Now, a lot of you take the loan for a longer period of time. You might take a 15-year term, but you might pay it off in 10 years, 8 years, 9 years. You don't pay it off as quickly as the price buyer does. You cannot be both. If you are both a price and an interest rate buyer, you haven't bought an RV, or you've bought one cash that's an older one. Okay? A lot of cash buyers obviously are price buyers, but they also could be interest rate buyers. That's the complicated mess, and that's, if you want to be trained, I can teach you about that, but we don't have a lot of salespeople that watch this. Now, the trade buyer. This is something I'm trying to get across to people too. I try to tell salespeople, especially with everybody that overspent during COVID, okay? And everybody overspent on everything, believe me. Boats, trucks, supercars, basic cars, work trucks, everybody overspent, right? Okay. That all being said, I always tell people that when it comes down to somebody that has a trade, they have to love the new unit more than they love their money and their trade. It's a fact of life. That's been that way prior to the COVID frenzy. That is something that's been around, but before my time. I've been around, this is year 16 for me, okay? Close, yeah. It's about to be year 16, 2009, yeah. Okay, so the reality is, and what I mean by that is this, because that gets complicated. So let's say that someone has a Salem travel trailer trade-in, and they have decided they want to step up to, we'll pick on Brinkley tonight, want to step up to a Brinkley. Okay, they decided on a 3100Z fifth wheel, okay? They have to love that Brinkley more than they love their money and the Salem travel trailer. If they don't love that Brinkley more than their money and that Salem travel trailer, you don't have a deal. Okay? There are so many used motorhomes, travel trailers, toy haulers, so many used that's everywhere on Marketplace, Craigslist, RV Trader, and private sellers have their stuff so far out of whack price-wise that you can tell that they love their money more than they love that RV. Because if they wanted to get rid of it, they'd price it correctly according to the market. Instead, they go, oh, no, I'm not losing that much money. I just talked to a guy. I've been trying to find some consignments. And I actually found a couple people that, okay, they're ready to move on. Either they couldn't get enough on trade or whatever the case may be. Maybe they're just done. Maybe they're just done RVing. There's a time and place where people are just done RVing, right? That being said, just have a thought process of which buyer you are, right? So, if you're a price buyer and you're a used buyer, right now, the best place to buy is a dealership. Okay? And that'll swing. There's going to be a time where it's better to buy used from a private party than it is from a dealership. Right now, in this era of 2025, it's much better to buy from a dealership than it is to buy from a private party, because the dealerships are not so far out of whack with where the financing is going to be for these RVs. I'll give you an example. There's a guy with a Mercedes Class C motorhome, Mercedes B Plus Class C, whatever the hell you want to call that thing, okay? And it's a nice one. It's a Winnebago View. And it's now reached 10 years old. And they want $75,000 for it. The most I'm going to get financed at a credit union is going to be around $45,000. We did the math. That's 30 grand above what a credit union, which is who we're going to have to use because of the age, $30,000 out of whack. Okay? Just think about that. That's private seller. And I talked to the guy. The lowest he'll go is $72,500 because he paid $90,000 for it cash back in 2021. We're still through all that craziness. We haven't gotten through that craziness of COVID yet. We haven't done it yet. It hasn't happened yet. Okay? I don't get why. People have asked me, why do you think that is? I have no freaking clue. I think a lot of it is people don't want to admit that there was a big problem with people spending and overspending on houses and trucks. I think part of it's just, I don't know, I just think part of it's just screwbally. So, but when you go, most people are pretty reasonable when you explain to them why you price things. I have a customer that bought a Flagstaff trailer from me not that long ago. They have a Rockwood fifth wheel trade. And she asked me a very legitimate question. She started adding all the options on JD Power. And I explained to her, the banks don't let us do that. They only allow us a certain percentage. And said in most cases, it's either 5 or 10%. So like, for example, US Bank will give us 10%. So even if there's $7,500 in options, they're only going to give us 10% of that, really. In some cases, it's 10% of the wholesale book. It depends on what program you're using. So we don't get to go and click and click and click and click them all. And I told her, and that's the same thing, like she was planning on listing this thing for like $30,000. What's going on, Larry? She was like, I'm going to list it for like 30 grand. Because that's what it says on JD Power. And I'm like, well, I'll tell you what we were going to sell it for. Because we were going to sell it probably around 19.5. That's where it's going to sell. It's going to sell between 19 and 20 grand. We're going to list it for higher, a little bit higher, because everybody wants a deal, right? But reality is that Rockwood fifth wheel is going to have roughly about 19 grand of $19,500 of financeable room in it between a credit union or a regular bank. We might squeeze 20 or 21 grand with a credit union, maybe, depending on what program we use, depending on the person's credit. But the reality is if I want to sell for 30 grand, I got to get 13 or 14 or 15 grand down. How many people are putting half down on a used fifth wheel? Most people that buy used have smaller down payments or they're paying cash. And if you can go buy a brand new one for, let's say, 38 grand, and you're a cash buyer, you're only $8,000 away from the new one on a 4-year-old fifth wheel? Doesn't pencil, right? But if you go bring it down to, let's say, 21 or 22 grand as a listing price, now it becomes more attractive because the spread is bigger. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're doing trade-ins, okay? If you're going to trade something in, grab the wholesale bookout sheet from the salesperson, because nobody ever explains this. If when they say, oh, trade-ins 10 grand, but the book's 14. Why am I not getting 14? Well, let me show you why. The profit margin has to be bigger in used, number one. Number two, dealerships try to turn, unless they're like the camping world of the universe, the Walmart of the world, generally even dealerships like, even smaller corporate dealerships like Funtown RV and places like that, General RV, all these smaller corporate style dealerships turn their used. They turn their trades. It's cash flow. Okay? Dealerships, it doesn't matter. You could sell 500 units and make $1 million in profit if that's what, we always make jokes about that. $1 million in profit doesn't mean anything if none of it gets to stay in the bank as cash. Right? So constant thought of cash flow. So if I'm in it 3 or 4 grand back of wholesale book, it means I can sell for 3 or 4 grand less and turn it quicker off the dime. Okay, so when you're looking at trade-ins, people look at trade-ins and they say, oh, that's way low. You're trying to make 50 grand on me. It's not the way it works. And now that the car's charged, I'll explain that tomorrow at some point, because I'm planning a video on that. I've been trying to do this video on my main channel about it, because I know trade-ins is a big subject with a lot of consumers. They're all pissed because dealers hitting it so low. But they don't have an understanding of why a dealership would hit a trade hard, right? Why a dealership would rather consign a trade than take it in on trade or purchase it outright. And I'll explain that in a video at some point. I gotta get it done. I've just been so damn busy. My feet are still screaming at me. I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I actually got a haircut for the first time in months. I laid back, got my head all massaged and shampooed. I got my toes done. I got my feet massaged. I about cried during the feet massage because my feet were so much in pain. My heels were killing me. And then my brain was killing me because people were love Matt to death, but I am on top of everybody. I'm on top of a manufacturer. I give consumers crap. I give everybody crap when they deserve crap. But what I'm tired of is I'm really tired of people putting words in other people's mouths that they didn't say, or taking a little clip of something that they said in a 8 or 10 minute segment and took 2 minutes of it, clipped it to death in their own mind and go, that's what they said. It's like, why can't people just watch the full video? I don't find Josh boring. I don't. So I don't understand how you can only watch 2 minutes of his video and get nothing out of it that was correct. I don't get it. It's like, hold on. It's just like somebody was telling me the other day, you should go on Wingman's podcast. Yeah, that would be not good for Wingman. Okay. I think Wingman's got his place in things. I really do. Not going to bash the man at all. But just imagine me going on Wingman's podcast. That probably wouldn't go well for Wingman in the long run. I think he should stick to his little local dealer guys he talks to that love the bash camping world and tell the whole world why they won't sell a service contract or extended warranty because they think it's a ripoff. Let him stick in that lane. You don't want me on that podcast, okay? Just like, let's be realistic, okay? I know a lot of you guys are fans of Liz Amazing, and I'm okay with that. As I said, she is a necessity in this industry, and we don't need more of her, but we do need her. And I'm glad she's back. I've seen she's done a couple more videos in the last month. And, I'm actually happy she's back, okay? I'm happy to know she's back to, hopefully she got some sunshine and some rays and some tequila shots or whatever she does to recuperate herself, right? But that's like Liz and I collaborating. That's like two bulls in a china shop, right? That's two complete opposites. While her and I will agree with some of the things, her and I are going to severely disagree about a lot of it. Because that Armageddon side of YouTube isn't every coach. Now, one of the biggest problems with the whole scenario is Grand Design RV kind of set this thing up to be bigger than what it really was, okay? And it's still a battle of the whole frame failure, frame flexing. It appears, as far as I can tell, it appears that the 2025 models, nobody has said anything about them. It looks like whatever they did for year model 2025, for now, appears to have nipped it in the bud. So it looks like it's just 2024 year model. I've got them all the way back to 2015 now. Okay. And by the way, for It's a Mia, give me your email. I'll email you the list because I've been working on it and I'm almost done with it. And it's just about every model over 35 feet in total length. Anything under 35 feet, there are zeros, zilchos, zilpo. Any reflections or solitudes or momentums that are under 35 feet in total length, zero problems. Zero. I went back through a lot of it. I went through like half of my data already people sent me. Zero. So a lot of those like smaller lightweight stuff or even the smaller heavier stuff was not having an issue. But then I went back and I also, watch this, just last thing before I unplug for the night. The other thing interesting too is the Keystone, Montana High Country was the third most reported brand that I was getting, which wasn't very many. I think now it was like up to like 13 or 14 people. But I looked back at that, common thing, nothing under 35 feet in total length. Then I went back to Tom's video when because Tom, I think it's From the Life or Forever the Life. Forgive me, Tom, if you're watching. I don't remember the name of your channel off the top of my head. But then I rewatched his video when his Forest River fifth wheel, which I think was a Columbus, a Palomino Columbus, if I remember right, off the top of my head, his was over 35 foot in total length. So it got me thinking about something, because there's been a common, interesting trend I've been seeing. Well, okay, but Brinkley's having a different issue. Brinkley's not having a frame problem. Brinkley's having a braking problem and an axle problem. But them, Mobile Suites, and Riverstone are all having the same issue. It's not just Brinkley. And that's where I defend people. Remember, I'm fair across the board with this. It's a Brinkley DRV and a Forest River Riverstone, which, if you guys know, I'm a big fan of Forest River Riverstone, and I still got to talk crap when they do something wrong. But it appears all three of those brands use the same company for their braking system, use the same braking system, use the same axle system, and they're having issues with it. And apparently all three of them are aware and are doing steps to make it work. Yeah, I would be very careful listening to a channel dealing with someone that has that name. I would just be very careful with any information you get off that channel. I would rather, if Liz Amazing gets those people on her thing, then I would say that's closer to a major problem. Okay? You have to understand there are certain YouTubers, and it's not just that person with that name. There's a lot of YouTubers out there, a ton of them, that are looking for ad revenue, that are looking for cheap views, that are looking for that hit of adrenaline. And the biggest example I can give you is that whole motorhome, the whole motorhome sales ban thing. The only person that reported it in a neutral fashion was Jason from RV Miles. Josh talked about it, but Josh is, I don't put Josh in that same category, because Josh has his own thing, right? He's with Bishes, he does his own thing. I don't even include him in this. But Jason from RV Miles was as close and accurate as anybody, just missing some pieces from it. But Jason doesn't need to chase views and ad revenue. Okay, Jason and his wife have a good business model, a good business plan. They don't have to chase cheap views. Okay, but I want you to look at, after the one person, the one YouTuber that I can't stand, and I won't name his or / her name, puts everybody in a panic mode over this motorhome sales ban that isn't true. And then there was 76 videos made in a 2-week period regurgitating the same information from people. You can go back to their YouTube channel and they have like 100,000 subscribers, but their last 20 videos got a total of like 7,000 views. So they decided, desperation mode, we need to do this and panic people. Let's just jump on that trend because we need to make money so we can keep full-time RVing. And so I don't trust people that haven't been in the industry. Okay? I don't trust people that haven't turned a wrench in the industry. I trust people like Dustin Simpson. I trust Matt from Matt's RV Reviews, Matt's Towable Reviews. I know he's watching it, and I know there's only so much he can do while he's still attached to a corporation. I trust Josh, the RV nerd, even though he has his limitations on what he can and can't say. Because both those guys have been in the industry for an extremely long time. The younger crowd of RV corporate YouTubers, and there's like 45 others. I wouldn't trust their information as far as I can throw it, right? Because it's like, there's one gal, just like, I want to peel my face every time I listen to her talk about something that she has no clue about, right? And it just bugs the shit out of me, okay? But I don't trust people that haven't been in the industry. I can't remember the tech's name. There's a tech guy that does a lot of great content on comparisons of products, comparisons of travel trailers, but also great comparisons on actual, like from a technician's point of view about ladders and sewer hoses and all kinds of stuff. I trust his opinion. Even if I disagree with his opinion, I trust his opinion more than I would trust folks like that, because he's in the industry on the ground. And it's better to talk to people on the ground, like the mystery, remember guys, the mystery employee, the mystery, I don't know if everybody remembers this, but the mystery person at Lippard that was the whistleblower. Remember that whole thing? I think that's it. I can't remember. He usually sits down in his tech uniform, is mainly his platform. God dang, I can't think of his name. But he does a good job. I don't agree with him. I only agree with like half of what he says, but I trust his information more than I trust a lot of these other folks. You know, he's really, is that what it is? Art Rigger RV Repair? Is that who I'll probably have to look it up later. But he's one of those guys. It's like, I may not agree with him. I may not agree with anything he says in some cases. I might have a difference of opinion than he does, but I'll never bash him or never give him crap, because he's actually a technician who turns a damn wrench. And it's hard to like, I tell a lot of technicians that email me or DM me or talk to me over the phone, like, Keystone's a piece of crap. And the next day it's like, Forest River's a piece of crap. Keystone's the best. No, Keystone's a piece of crap. Forest River's the best. I hear that argument all the time from technicians based on their experiences at the moment and in the past. So that's why I don't argue with those guys. I listen to them. I don't argue with them, because you'll have half the technicians in the world tell you that Thor motorhomes are the biggest pile of shit on God's green earth. And then you'll have another group of technicians that'll tell you that Winnebago is the biggest piece of shit on God's green earth, and so on and so forth, right? So it's just one of those things where it's who do you trust with information, right? We gotta go unplug the car. It's who do you trust? You know, I only trust a certain amount of people. Even if I can't stand the way they do things on their YouTube channel, I trust their information, okay? that's because I'm kind of a jackass. I mean, let's face it. I'm not exactly the nicest person in the world. Okay, I'm very rigid and to the point, and I ramble like a donkey half the time because, you know, I get off subject, especially on these live streams. It takes me like 19 to 20 takes just to get the beginning of a video done because, you know, I can't stand the sound of my own voice. You know, I mean, there's just so many things that, you know, just kind of, let's back up and we'll finish this live. There's just so many things that you have to take into account with whose information are you going to trust, right? Like, like when certain podcasters like Joe Rogan, do I like Joe Rogan? Yeah. Do I trust everything he says is the Bible? No. Do I, and I know I'll get crap for this, okay? Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I am going off. I'm going off on a tangent, and I need to stop going off on a tangent. But in the end of the day, it's because you started out with that person's name. I won't even repeat that person's name. I mean, they're just people that are an absolute joke. I'm up in Northern California, Larry, right now. Probably will be here for a long time, too. These guys seem to like what I do. Let me phrase that. They seem to appreciate what I do. It's really nice to be appreciated. As long as the money starts being right, which it will eventually, I can't see myself going anywhere else. So, no, it's okay, man. I mean, it's just, it is what it is. I mean, you know, there are people in this world that have zero integrity. And I'll leave it at that. Anyway, I gotta go back and turn on the Uber app. I gotta go make some money for the night. So I'm gonna try to do that video. So I'll talk to you guys later.